Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Friday the 14th. It's so close to being Friday the 13th. Today's Grey Market Blast with myself and the amazing Angie Setzer, who will be joining us very shortly. Invite is sent to be a co-host. So just while she's joining, I will go over the legals briefly. So nothing discussed on this space session constitutes trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ Global Limited, Jones PIQ or PIQ Suite, or indeed the hosts with the mosts, which, as you know by now, is the amazing Angie, and myself, the almost as equally amazing.
Equally amazing,
Oh,
maybe even more so, some may say. I'm just
well,
saying.
look, you're just making up for telling how nice it was because
I
I was quiet the other day. So yeah.
I remain living in the doghouse and will stay here for a while.
Yeah,
So
you may
ha-
want to get your mail redirected there. It's going to be a while.
that's all right. Yeah, it's gonna be a minute. There's no coming out from underneath this one. But anyway, happy Friday, happy Valentine's
Friday.
Day for those of you who observe that it's a special day. I do strictly because I like the candy. But that's it, really. So you can get that any day, but it's special on today.
Exactly.
Market wise here, I thought it was Saturday when I got up, but it's not. It's Friday. So we have one more day of fun. Yesterday we had more insight, if you want to call it that, into the reciprocal tariff role. And so obviously, bullet point one is what is going on in trade. And so yesterday, we did find out that we are going to do the reciprocal tariff thing, which we knew, but we had thought maybe it was going to be kicked in right on day one. It's not. It's April 1st because we are doing the by country research, by country assessment, basically, and taking into consideration not only the cost of tariffs, but also taking into consideration, some of these regulatory hurdles or things that, some countries may do where they don't allow the US access to their consumers through certain internal rules or what have you. And then we're also taking into consideration value added taxes. And so, a lot of experts are like, this is the best way to really do it, approaching it with reciprocity.
Yeah.
But what does all of this look like over the next 6 weeks? Who's going to have what? China obviously charges a value added tax for like agricultural imports. Does that count as tariffs? Because there was talk that on a tariff to tariff basis, right, we would have to reduce China's tariffs at first glance. And so there's, maybe more in the way of confusion, you could say, than there was at the start, but also more in the way of clarity, which I know does not make sense. But basically, like, we clarified the rules, but now we're more confused about what it might mean, I guess, if that
Yeah,
is
this
in.
is it.
And so that is what we're going to watch. The thing that really has my attention the most right now is like you have several countries around the world. India is one that they're actively working towards a bilateral trade agreement. India is just ripe for the picking. If you talk to anyone from the U.S. Grains Council or anything like that, when it comes to their potential ethanol demand, and it's not just talking about road fuel because they have certain rules for different types of ethanol in the country. But one of the things that we've seen in India is that they have domestic coal that is really, really nasty. It's extra dirty, extra pollution-y, if you will. And so there's been a push to kind of try to see if we can get ethanol into like home heating and ethanol into some of these other things that are possibly there. You are seeing India as a huge ethanol producer in and of it themselves, and so there could be some really interesting developments there when you see them say they want to import U.S. energy products. It's not just liquefied natural gas or crude that we're talking about. It could be biofuels and some of these other things. And so India wants to create a bilateral trade agreement. We're going to be watching that really closely. We've already seen them roll back a slew of tariffs that they had on imports, motorcycles and things that Trump had pointed out during his first administration. Taiwan has come and said that they want to increase their imports of agricultural products and do what they can to energy products and do what they can to narrow this trade gap. And so to me, I think what you've seen is most everyone saying, okay, we have until April 1st to dance, like to
Yeah.
negotiate the hell out of this thing. What is it that we can do? And really, when it comes down to it, low hanging fruit is U.S. agricultural, defense, and energy products. And so I think that's what you're going to see a lot of, quite often, or what you'll hear more of is, just what will it take? And here are the low hanging fruits, the easy things that we can do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's point one. Reciprocal tariffs, we still have no idea what's going to happen. Like Mexico, Canada, and China have been really quiet to me this week. So everyone else has been kind of like, oh golly. What is also funny though too is that you've got the EU where they're just like, to heck with you. Like we will. Everyone else is saying, hey, what will it take to make this work? Let's negotiate. And the EU's like, we're not, and they will negotiate. But it is interesting to see certain countries' leaders have seemed more keen to negotiate out of the EU than others.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
definitely be something to watch over the weekend that we're going to be paying attention to. Other thing, obviously, or other things, there's a slew of them, but one of the things we'll be listening for today as well is there is some talk of some changes in China's customs and some more problems potentially with short-term bean movement. That's part of why you
Yeah.
saw the market kind of rally a little bit here overnight. Is thoughts that we could see more disruptions potentially to trade. I don't really see that as necessarily bullish or really much of anything when it comes down to it. It's just more in the way of uncertainty over what they're doing when it comes to bringing in Brazilian beans. We are seeing an increase in harvest progress. We will see more in the way of beans moving into the pipeline. China will start to see more Brazilian beans come in. But there is, some thoughts that we are seeing them do some things that will help them aid their reserve turnover. They really need to get 2, 3, 4 million metric tons of soybeans out of their government reserves so they can put new stuff in. You don't really want to keep beans for too long, anything for too long in storage.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at kind of what's going to happen there, any sort of discussion that we'll see when it comes to trade, and those types of things. And then lastly, or not lastly, because there's a slew of other ones, but when it comes to big things that we're watching, will be the Black Sea conversation, not only the peace talks between Russia and Ukraine and some more clarity as we have the Munich Security Conference, and we'll see J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance talk to Ukrainian President Zelensky potentially, and some other things that we're seeing, out there that'll be interesting to watch. We have seen Russia really increase some of their more aggressive attacks, you could say. Port infrastructure in Odessa has reportedly been hit a couple times. Here over the last couple of days, we had that talk about them hitting the reactor cover in Chernobyl. Some people are trying to say that's why the wheat market was up overnight. I would say it has more to do with the fact that we're looking at a potential cold snap coming into the U.S. southern plains. That could impact the wheat that doesn't have snow cover on it. There's also talk of a big cold snap potentially working its way into parts of Russia, where they definitely don't have snow cover. And so
this is where I am most definitely the most stupid man in the room at this point. But you said so the impact the grain that doesn't have snow cover. Am I right in thinking then that grain that already has the snow cover that now acts as an insulator against
it's a blanket? Yes, snow becomes a blanket. Yeah, and so that's what what you want to see for wheat is for it to have a nice little blanket of snow upon it, before we see temperatures drop into the low 20s. I mean, honestly, at this point we're early enough, at least here in the US. It's early enough in the growing season. You could have some potential implications, further south in the southern plains. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert on where their wheat is from a growth standpoint. But it is February still. It is quite a bit different than if it were April or May, when we had a couple more months of development underneath us. But if you get into, where you're below 20 degrees and even colder, like we'll see in some places, and there isn't that snow cover, then there's a worry that you will lose the crop over the winter. And so that'll be something we watch. Winter kill concerns tend to be more of a price spike ahead of time. Buy the rumor, sell the fact. You know what I mean? Like, because wheat's a cockroach, it'll live through just about anything. To me, it's more of a freeze thaw cycle than a super cold time period that will hurt it. But we'll take the oomph. I mean, there's enough worry over wheat and new crop wheat production that any sort of potential hiccup in the growing season is going to spur a bit of a run. But yeah, because wheat has been so short from a fund positioning standpoint, we have some dryness in India that continues to develop and things to be watching there. The Russian supplies are down 21% year over year, according to their industry groups. I mean, there's just a crap ton of things that are happening in the wheat market that are probably going to make it the darling here in the short term of the fund buying side of things. And maybe that's enough to drag corn, through its recent round of resistance here. But But yeah, it's Friday. It's probably going to be a little crazy. It does feel like we'll see most in the way of trade worries kind of put into the back seat, at least for now. We've got the reciprocal tariffs. We're working on assessing what that means. We know that steel and aluminum's coming in March 12th, but we don't know who's going to negotiate what before then. And so really when it comes down to it, it's probably going to be a focus of inflation, trade, money flow, sentiment, all of those fun things, and we'll see where we end our Friday.
Well, we have got 6 p.m. Eastern time. I believe there's more executive orders coming as well from Trump. So
6
yes,
p.m. Eastern on a Friday. Oh, I can't wait.
6 p.m.
No, you're fine.
GMT. 6
Yeah,
p.m.
yeah.
6 p.m. my time, 1 p.m. Eastern time
Oh,
in
okay.
Washington.
He loves those
Yeah,
1 p.m. So
sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
so we'll be seeing, and we're still waiting for signs on biofuels. Like the EPA has been doing, we've got Zeldin all over. We've gotten, we've got confirmation of our USDA secretary, and so maybe we'll get some more clarity on the biofuel front. We definitely have still been waiting for that. I feel like we've heard everything that the administration wants to do, but that at this point.
But haven't you been saying this for like 6 years?
I haven't. I feel like it feels like 6 years for sure. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how we end up Friday. We will have those executive orders, like you said, watching a lot of developments over the weekend. We have the
Yeah.
markets closed Sunday night into Monday. So yay. That's what we needed right now is a 3-day weekend. And so we'll see what happens Monday night when we reopen. But yeah, party on,
Awesome.
Wayne.
Well, yeah,
So
right on, Garth.
yeah, that's what I feel like
Well,
right
I know
now.
what I'm watching
Exactly.
over the weekend. I know, right, so yeah, I know what movie I'm digging out over the weekend then.
You got to.
Perfect.
You have to now.
Well, Angie, my darling, thank you so much for just being awesome in general, not just today, but this week. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Whatever you're doing, please stay safe, keep it tight, have a splendid weekend, and we will see you all Monday, I guess. Or no,
Monday, yeah.
yeah, Monday, yeah.
Tuesday, we'll see. If there's
We'll
anything to
see.
talk
We'll see.
about Monday, we'll be back. But otherwise, we'll be here
What
Tuesday. But I'm gonna
what
guess there's
made up
probably
holiday in
something.
the US is it?
President's Day, George
Oh, so
Washington's
I was right
birthday.
then. Another
That's
work
what
time made up holiday.
I don't
Yeah,
understand that. Like, and I get it. I get the, you know what I mean. Like, it is what it is. Like, you're not gonna fight it. But honestly,
exactly. Oh, God.
like
Another one.
to not have the markets open on the 2 Mondays in like one in January and then one today, the one next week. It's just kind of like it's more of a pain than it is worth it.
Well, yeah,
Like
exactly.
it
Well,
just carries with
in
it.
that
But
case, then we
yes,
will see you Tuesday, unless there's something really, really, really bad that has happened over the weekend. So hopefully, we'll speak to you Tuesday.
we'll speak to you Tuesday. Yeah, yeah. You guys
Brilliant.
have a great
See you
weekend.
next
Thank you so
Tuesday.
much.
See you,
Bye.
see you next Tuesday. Bye bye.